Hello everyone, I'm Glencia Fernandes from the Department of Commerce, Milagres College, Mangalore. Today I'm going to talk on the concept communication. So let us know what do you mean by communication. Here we can find it on the screen, a presentation based on communication. Now this is nothing but passing the information from one person to the other or giving a message to one person to the other is called as communication. It may be of different kinds as we can find it on the screen. It may be through speaking, it may be through listening, it may be through writing or reading. The communication may flow in various ways. The other person should understand in the given ways. So it is always said that 30% of people when they speak, 45% of people should listen to it. And some of the information should be communicated in the written form and also in a reading way. Maybe that is intercom announcements, or maybe it is a television call. Moving on to the next slide, to know in detail, communication, this word has come from the Latin word as communere, which means to share, which means to understand and to participate. So whenever the communication passes between two people or more than two people, there will be information sharing from the sender, the person who speaks, and information will be received from the receiver, the person who receives it, nothing but understands it, and the person who receives the message sends the feedback or sends its opinions, which is nothing but it is its participation. So altogether, communication is a message, or communication is that which has come from the Latin word as communere, which is nothing but to participate, to understand and to share. The next slide says about the components of communication. So here there are various types of communication. Altogether, there are 8 types. The first one we can find is the source. For example, communication is required. Maybe like I want to communicate to my students about the information technology. So I need to search the information regarding information technology, maybe from the books, maybe from the website, or maybe from any other source. I collected the information. Next should be the message. That information, whichever I have collected from the source, should be communicated in the form of a message. So the message should go in the channel way. That is from the sender to the middleman to the receiver, or maybe from the sender to the receiver. So this altogether we call it as a channel, from sender to the middleman or to the agent or to the final man, or that is receiver, which we call it as channel. Next comes the receiver, the person who gets the message, who receives the message is called to be as receiver. Once the message is received, the receiver has the options to give the feedbacks, to give the opinions, to give the suggestions, etc. And the other component of communication is the environment. There should be a good environment. There should not be any noise. A message should be passed rightly to the right person. Context. It should be simple. It should be reliable. It should be easy to understand. It should not be a lengthy or a passage form. So in simple, it should be a simple one. The next one we have interface. Interface, when it is a communication between two people, there may be the discussions. There may be any clauses with the receiver, which we call it as interface. So these are the components of communication. Here we can find the next slide, the interaction model of communication. So a person, whenever he sends a message or passes the message, he is called to be as encoding the message. We can find there are 2 brains. The person who is sending the message, he is none but the encoder. The person who receives the message is called to be as decoder. So there is a difference between encoding and decoding of message. A person is finding from different sources, different references. He is encoding the message, and the person who receives is decoding the message. There may be the problem of noise, as I've told you earlier. Maybe there are interactions, or maybe there are some distractions. Maybe the other noises where the message may not go to the ultimate person properly. So there may be noise, and there also should be a feedback channel where even the sender can give the feedback or suggestions, even the receiver can give the suggestions or feedback. So here we can find the arrow showing on the right as well as in the left side, which is nothing but sender is also having a right to give the message, obviously gives the message. At the same time, he can put some more suggestions. At the same time, receiver can also give his opinions. So this is about the model. Now we have the next slide. It's about communication process. So there is a process of communication again which says about sender to the receiver by encoding the message, and that gets decoded. Various ways of channels, maybe agents, middlemen, etc. Moving on to the different models of communication, there are two types of models of communication. One, it is transactional. Second one, it is constructive. Now, transactional communication, which is done on regular basis. Constructive model of communication is done on probing basis or maybe negotiation basis. Now, what do you mean by regular? I take up the class. I go to the class regularly, take my concepts and come back, which is nothing but I refer some of the textbooks, some of the website to communicate or to take up the classes, that is sending the message to the receiver or taking the class, and the receiver are the students who are called to be as recipient, where we exchange the thoughts, exchange the ideas, etc. Whereas constructive model, which is nothing but here it is more of discussions, deep learning, etc., where the person who receives the message can ask me back the questions, ask some comments or put some comments, or he can put discussions. For example, I'm going to organize one event, and that event where I'm using the students. Students will be the organizers along with me. It may be the competition, it may be any fest, where students can go deeper and give their suggestions, give their opinions. So there will be a discussions between me and the students, which we call it as constructive. So these are the two models of communication, regular and the constructive one. Next we have types of communication. Other than these, there are some other ways of communications. Now let us see the given types of communication. First one is intrapersonal communication. Second one interpersonal. Third one group communication. Fourth one public, and fifth one mediated. Now what do you mean by intrapersonal communication? There will be communication between two or more people in the intrapersonal way. That is nothing but this college and the XYZ other college will be having the competition. Milagres College is organizing a competition, whereas XYZ ABC colleges come and participate in our college fest, which is nothing but intrapersonal or intrapersonal communication. Now what do you mean by interpersonal communication? Which is nothing but first Bcom and first BBA students will have a match, which is nothing but of same college, that is of Milagres College itself, different courses having the communication or having any competition is called as interpersonal. Group communication, there will be groups where a topic is given, where people talk together, discuss on a same topic with the different views. That is a group. And public communication, person speaking in front of the public, in front of the students, is called as public communication. Mediated communication, a sender will take the help of the middleman or the agent to send the final message, which is nothing but mediated communication. Other than these, we have downward, upward, horizontal and vertical way of communications. Moving on to the next slide, there are channels of communications. Here there are various channels of communication. First one, communication, as I've said, it is simple but not easy, which should pass to the receiver, and receiver should understand. It should be in concise, it should be in a simple form, so that the other person will understand. So it may be communicated verbally or non-verbally. Example for verbal, oral and written communication Example for non-verbal is audio, visual, body language, space, time and environment. So verbal and non-verbal communication says that the person should understand, feel it and digest it. The other one, final method, which is nothing but when the communication is done orally or when the communication is done in the written form, it should be the final method for verbal. When it is non-verbal, I do only the body language or show only the body language, do in my eyes action or only some actions I do, the other person should understand. The examples for it is the interviews. When the interviewer is conducting the interviewee is not showing the interest, maybe through his body language, maybe through his eyes contact, the interviewer will come to know that the interviewee is not interested, which is nothing but non-verbal way, showing in your different types of body language, showing in your eye contact that you are not interested towards the interview. So this is about channels of communication, model of communication, types of communication, etc. Thank you.